It was a cold November night in a small town in Tennessee, the kind of night where silence feels sacred and every star looks like a prayer written across the sky. Inside the town's little wooden church, Pastor David had just locked the doors after evening service. The last hymn still lingered in the air. "It is well with my soul." He smiled, unaware that within hours, those same walls would be swallowed by fire. At 2:37 a.m., the first neighbor saw the flames. They rose fast, angry, wild, merciless, painting the dark sky orange. By the time the fire trucks arrived, the roof had already collapsed. The old church that had stood for nearly 70 years, where generations had been baptized, married, and laid to rest, was gone. When the sun rose, Pastor David stood among the ashes. His hands trembled as he picked up a charred piece of hymn book. The words were almost gone, but one line remained visible. "Through it all, my eyes are on you." He fell to his knees. "God," he whispered, "where are you in this fire? You could have stopped it. You could have saved your house." The smell of smoke filled his lungs. The silence was heavy, like a question that heaven didn't answer. Then, one of the firefighters, a young man who wasn't even part of the church, called out, "Sir, you need to see this." At the very center of the ruins stood the cross. It was tall, wooden, simple, the same one that had been behind the altar for decades. Everything around it, the pews, the Bible stand, even the floor, had turned to ash. But the cross was untouched. Not a single scorch mark, not even a crack. The firefighter took off his helmet, eyes wide. "I don't understand. The heat in here should have melted metal. How is this even possible?" Pastor David didn't have an answer. He just stared at that cross, shining gently under the morning sun, and felt something move inside him. Not glass or a roof to protect them, but every Sunday they gathered around that same cross. There, in the cold and the wind, they worshiped like never before. Because when you lose everything and still choose to praise, that's when faith becomes real. One Sunday morning, Pastor David said, "The fire didn't come to destroy us. It came to remind us that faith is not built on wood and stone. It's built on what cannot burn." Those words spread far beyond their small town. People came from across the country just to see the unburned cross. Some came out of curiosity, others came broken, but all left with tears and a quiet, unspoken peace. Years later, when the new church was finally built, they placed the same cross in front of the altar. It stood there, strong, scarred, yet unbroken, a symbol that no fire could erase God's presence. And every time Pastor David looked at it, he remembered that night. The darkness, the ashes, the silence, and how even in that silence, God was speaking. "I am still here. I am still with you. I am still faithful.